So this is where I pretend that we haven't spoken an absolute ton since the event and through the power of showbiz. So Jeff, oh my God, you've been a busy boy.
Indeed, indeed, my friend. It has been wild.
What an adventure, man. I don't even know where to start. Like, first of all, it was for me, it was amazing. For the people watching, it was amazing. How was it for you?
It was surreal, and it was one of the most important moments of my life, man. It really was. It was a big deal. It was very emotional. It was profound. Uh, it was scary, elating. It was monumental, man. I don't know what to say. Like I'm still in like the afterglow. Like I'm still like, did that really happen? And what do we do now?
Well, rightly so, and that's a big question, but we'll get to that. I mean, it just came across so well organized, and I think without kind of throwing shade at anything that's come before, like we all knew the hearing with David Grush, like there was something special about that. You could feel it, and this caught that thunder again. Like everybody had a part to play. Everybody looked like they'd totally earned the right to be there, and everybody came out with stuff that just had everybody's jaws dropping. So,
Yeah.
I guess a good first question is like, how did this start? How did you get involved in all this?
Oh man, we got to go back a few years, right? So yeah, I've been involved in this since like 2023, before the first hearing. So it goes way back to that point. But recently, um, you know, I'm aware of a lot of the political machinations behind the scenes. And basically what's going on is Congress is trying to get credible whistleblowers or witnesses in front of the American people that can give reliable testimony to what they're experiencing. And there's a lot of people that would love to testify, but they cannot because either the information is completely classified and they can't even share it with Congress, or they're under threat, you know. So there are people that have the information that the American people in Congress need. We would all love to get those people protected, some kind of immunity, and then get them on the stand to release what, you know, at least some of what is going on. So that was the initial, intent of the hearing. They really wanted a strong hearing to wake up the people, start paying attention to what's actually going on. And there's a lot of difficulty because some of these people just are not allowed legally to speak about it. And then, so that complicates matters. And then there are plenty of people that would love to come out and have the opportunity, to testify under oath. And that's really what was going on. Who did the Congress want to bring in front of the American people to sort of reset the stage and how do I say it? To reinvigorate this movement. So there was a lot of that going on, and then I got involved a few weeks before my name had been suggested, and apparently my name went through a vetting process behind the scenes with Congress, and I came out, as a selectee. And then things were very quick after that. We had to do a lot of preparation, and so it's been a whirlwind since that moment.
Yeah,
So,
man.
so
Well,
yeah,
that's really interesting because that puts to bed, people that are saying, "Oh, this is a vehicle," and it's this was a selection process, and this it's
yeah,
kind of like in the UK when you get jury duty, you just get told you're going to be doing this, and that
yeah.
seemed to be more of your experience. But I want to just address because there are a few people that was stood outside taking selfies, trying to take credit for organizing it. But there are a few unsung heroes
Mm.
that I think really did oil the engine, and that was David Grush and Jeremy Corbell. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, man. People, whatever they think of Jeremy Corbell, he's a friend of mine. He has always been completely honest with me. And if people understood the amount of work he does behind the scenes, I mean, real work to get these hearings off the ground and provide good witnesses to Congress and help with the vetting process and the logistics about getting whistleblowers there. Um, if people knew the amount of work that he put into it and how important him and George Knapp are to the movement, they would probably have a different opinion of Jeremy. So, yeah, without him, none of this would have happened for me, and for definitely for some of the other guys too. We all owe Jeremy and George a great debt of gratitude for the support. We couldn't have done it without Jeremy, and we couldn't have done it without Dave Grush and Representative Burleson and Luna. I mean, so we had a lot of support on the inside and on the outside, and that's really the only reason it happened. People were coming together in a nonpartisan, non-egotistical way to try to get a good selection of witnesses to reinvigorate the public and let them know that this is serious and we have a lot of work to do. We're just getting started. People are screaming for disclosure, whatever that means to them, but we have a long battle to fight before the government is going to share what they really know.
Yeah, and you're fighting on multiple sides as well. I think that was made all the more apparent when you'd got Alex there, who's active service, like the first congressional speaker that's been active service Navy. Um, and then you'd got Dylan there, who's a contractor, and he witnessed something outside a NASA hangar, and he'd had countless problems afterwards. We've got you, who was in charge of an Air Force facility, and the same stigma is managing to affect people in all different aspects of this whole field, and not just this field, but their professional fields. But David Grush, like, it was really gratifying to see him there at the back. We know he's had kind of an intimidation attempt in the last couple of weeks, but can you go a little bit more about his role there? Like, he was part of the vetting process, I believe.
Yeah, as far as I understand it, he at least had input and would make suggestions to the task force members on who were good quality candidates to select from. And from what I understand, there was quite a deep pool of people to select from. We heard the rumors that came out about there's no one that wants to testify. I can tell you that's absolutely 100% false. There are plenty of people that would love to testify and that I would love to see testify. And the other guys that testified, with me would love to see on the stand. Matthew Brown, of course, is number one. We would have loved to have Matthew with us on the stand. And there's many more behind him. Um, it just the issue is, are they safe? Because the hearing is all great, but when it's over, it's over. And then you go back to real life. And if you're not protected, you're not financially secure, and you're worried about, your reputation and your employment, you're on your own after that. There's no support from the government, you know. So
Yeah, and
we've
that
got a lot of work to do before those people can even think about coming out and testifying, even if they're allowed to.
yeah.
Even if they're allowed to, they have to take everything into consideration.
Yeah, you could see. I mean, I know Alex mentioned he'd spoken to Admiral Gallaudet, but Dylan, I mean, did a very brave thing because he came out without any top cover, and basically a lot of questions are going to come following that, and he was totally honest about the situation he's in. It's all too easy for us watching at home to see these guys with military backgrounds, and you expect that they go home to a Lamborghini and,
Yeah,
they live on Tracy Island or whatever. But Dylan really brought home the vulnerability of somebody that was going for a smoke and
yeah,
happened to stumble over something which blew his mind. And then speaking to people that he works with, his colleagues and confidants, like he just found himself in a spider's web. And next thing you know, he's got every camera in the world pointed at him and he's speaking in front of Congress.
yeah. It's been a long, I mean, he's been in this fight for well over a decade. So it's been a long road. And if people knew how deep and dark the retaliation actually goes, the American public would be furious. They would be furious and they would be shocked and they would be outraged. And that's where we need to get to. We
Hmm.
need to make it safe for people like Dylan to come out and tell the truth, the full story, and shake the American public awake. Because if they found out what was happening to their veterans intentionally by our own government or whoever these bad actors are,
Hmm.
they would be outraged and they need to hear that. So that's the fight we're in, right? How
Yeah.
do we get to the point where we the people can speak freely without retaliation from the government or whoever is trying to keep this secret? Yeah.
Yeah, and then as a weird duality to that, you've got George Knapp, superstar extraordinaire, just throwing hand grenades because he's got no
Yeah.
NDAs, nobody's got anything on him, and he was naming names and pointing at departments and
Yeah.
contractors and
No.
all of the stuff that Reddit and the internet is frothing at the mouth for. Like, why can't they just say, well, he did,
He did
So,
finally.
but ironically, you know, he's the guy that's not been firsthand to all of this stuff. So for the guys like yourself and Dylan and Alex to be kind of out on a wire talking about this, it should be the other way around, if anything.
Yeah. Yeah, it was so good having George there on the stand. I mean, to me, it's always shocking. It's like the gravity of the situation escapes people, like the historic gravity of the situation. We had an active duty Navy member testifying under oath about UFOs flying out of the ocean. And this is backed up by data, every conceivable type of data a skeptic would need. It's all there, including video, including pictures, including radar, and on and on. Multiple witnesses, right? All in the control center together. So I mean, to me, that is so monumentally important and historic that happened. And then next to him, you have George Knapp, and then again, the gravity of the situation. This is really happening. This is the journalist that how many Emmys have George won? Like 30 something Emmys
Yeah.
for outstanding investigative journalism into corruption, government corruption, crime, right? Organized crime in Vegas. And now he's here finally after 30, 40 years of investigating the UFO story. He has the chance to sit under oath and tell the truth, you know. And then it leads into Dylan. And it was so emotional being up there. It really was. It was wild.
Well, rightly so,
Wow.
man. I mean, but you all played such a perfect part, and I know that that probably doesn't sound right because it was completely honest, and that's why it was so good. But your speech at the start was amazing,
Oh,
and
thank you.
it pulled everybody in behind you, and you guys there. It was because everyone was feeling like that, like, oh, God, I hope this is good. But it was like waiting for a new Star Wars movie where you kind of like, oh no, the last ones have been. But then, boom, it was like, oh Jesus, we're off. And every single one of you, like Dylan was there with technical data. He's been on the bridge of a combat vessel. This isn't a car ferry. That he was surrounded by qualified people, and they were all completely mystified by what they'd seen. But none of them, not one person there said it was a seagull. And then
No.
for Dylan, who was working in a totally black world, um, doing drone operations and whatnot, and then he just walks out and sees this thing which is totally beyond his understanding when he's already working with SAPs.
His encounter, and this is the thing, like that keeps shocking me out of my skin. So when I met Dylan and he told me his encounter, it just took me right back to one of the encounters I talked about in the hearing. And the same thing happened to my buddy. He would just got out of his patrol car and looked up, and there's this enormous triangle floating over him. Then it just vanishes. And, and then your life has changed. And then you're on this path. And then, maybe by just talking about it, you're in trouble. And then your life falls off a cliff just because you saw something that's not supposed to exist. And then you just go tell your friends. And the next thing you know, you're getting called in and you're being threatened and your life falls apart. And it's
Yeah.
like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
And without choosing, you go from somebody with an impeccable professional career in a position of incredible trust, which is what all four of you had got in common, to that UFO guy, on on social media, and you
Mhm.
haven't got a chance to kind of pad that out. I mean, we even had that with Commander Fravor. He's just known as the Tic Tac guy now, as
Yeah.
opposed to leading the Black Aces like, first over the border in Iraq and
Yeah.
an impeccable career. So
Yeah.
I mean, one question that I think people would like to know then is how did you get to know each other? Like, at what point did you guys know that you were all going to be talking? And like, just talk us a little bit about that.
So the witness list was kept very close to the chest. So I didn't know any of the other witnesses. I know that I was in the mix and that they were very interested in me. But up until maybe what was it, a week before, um, yeah, they put the list out. And that was, I think I called you, right? I'm like, oh my God, like I'm on Twitter. They leaked the list, and I'm still there typing, trying to figure out what to say. I've got 5 minutes to jam all this information in and try to make an impact. And then I'm like, oh, now it's out. But I found out before that. But I hadn't met any of the other witnesses prior to that, except for like George, of course.
Mhm.
And then we really met 2 days before the hearing, and Jeremy got us all together, and we spent like basically 2 days together, almost nonstop, and that was incredibly helpful because we got to get to know each other. We got to, we talked about our families and where we're from, and we just got to bond. And after those 2 days, we're bonded pretty tight. So so yeah, we spent a lot of time together, and that was absolutely critical to getting us mentally prepared to walk into that room and sit down and take that oath. Um, so so yeah, man, that's what it was, and that was all Jeremy Corbell. And that's the thing. Like people need to understand, you don't get congressional support for this. You're asked. Alex was in California, and they're like, hey, you buy a ticket, you pay your flight out here, you find a hotel in DC. You know, rooms are not cheap. And that's a problem, right? The government is asking these military members or veterans to come at their own expense, to come out there. And, people are unemployed. And even if they're not, like most people right now don't have money to buy a plane ticket to fly across the country
No.
or,
And
stay in
hotels in the capital, yeah.
hotels in the capital, right? So, yeah, we had a lot of support from George and from Jeremy. And like I keep saying, without them, it might have been a different hearing because they gave us the space, security, the camaraderie that we needed, the time that all of us needed to be together and talk things out and have a strategy and be prepared as a team to walk into those doors to go to war, you know.
I think that sums it up because that's exactly how it like you guys looked like a team. You know, there was clear cohesion there. I think, you know, you came out confidently and you could see everybody else's shoulders drop a little bit and just kind of, okay, this is it, we're off. And
Yeah.
then everybody had their punches to throw in separate fields, and that's what made it so effective. And then we got new footage as well, and we had Congress people talking like there was literally something there for everybody.
Yeah.
So so give us the skinny then. So 10 minutes before you walk out, what does it look like for you guys?
It was us in a dark room sitting together quietly.
Yeah.
That's what it was. People had come in and given us encouragement. We got to meet Representative Luna, and David Grush came in, and Representative Burleson and many others came in to give us the support and thank us for being there. And then after that calmed down, we just had some time to be quiet. Uh, some people were praying, and then it was go time, and then we just walked out and and got after it.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. So what well, the next question then is what did you do afterwards? Because I think I wouldn't have known what planet I was on after something like that.
We hunkered down until things kind of calmed down outside because there was press and things like that. And then we all just we retreated to the hotel and cracked beers, and we spent we just celebrated and talked and just talked and had fun together. And then we spent pretty much the entire rest of the day together in a unit as a team, and we went out and walked around DC to the monuments and just bonded and talked and just enjoyed the moment, man. It was beautiful.
Hmm.
Yeah, yeah,
Good. I'm glad to hear it, man.
yeah.
So so what's next?
Oh, so what's next? Good things are coming. Good things are coming. Maybe more on that later. We'll do an episode, but good things are coming. So we've got a team now, and the idea is we need to have the witnesses and the whistleblowers in control of our own destinies. So we've been relying on Congress for help. We've been relying on these other professional organizations for help. We need financial support. We need legal support desperately, and many other things. And we're not getting what we need. So we're going to put a team together and we're going to solve that problem, not only for us, but for all the people we have standing behind us in the shadows waiting to come forward. So that's all coming together now. So good things are coming.
That's exciting to hear.
Yeah, man.
Because that's it. I mean, it's like you said, I think you said the night of the hearing afterwards when we caught up, you were like, it's more important what happens tomorrow than what happened today.
Yeah,
And that's something that off the back of the last ones, other than kind of social media stuff or the odd congressperson that we know and hear a little more of, we it's time to get a bit of momentum going, isn't it?
yeah. And now it's time to have a different type of hearing. We need to start hearing from people from Arrow who come out and say, these people are liars, grifters, and lunatics before, a congressional hearing, a task force on the truth and transparency. It's time for them to come out and testify under oath about what they know and about, what they have said. So we need different types of hearings to come up. We need to find out what was going on with the drones in New Jersey and all over. If it was the FAA, bring them out. Let's have a conversation with the American people because they were doing that research over my home in New Jersey and over my friends and family and my neighbors in my community in my country. And no one I know consented to that. So if that is the truth, and they were not UAP and they were actually high-tech drones operated by the FAA, we need to have a conversation with the people that authorized that, and they need to tell us under oath exactly what they were doing. So we've got a lot of hearings that need to happen, but we also need to continue to push for hearings with witnesses. We continue, we need to continue to hear from the witnesses. So we've got a lot of work to do. The
Great.
battle begins now, I believe. We've reset the playing field, and we need to really push now. And we need some concrete goals, and we have some of those now. Like one is legal protection. We need immunity from the executive branch for these whistleblowers. And that could happen. We just need the people engaged in putting pressure on the Congress, the Senate, and the executive branch to protect whistleblowers. So we need to generate interest. We need to generate momentum. We need to fire people up. We need to give people hope and, promote courage, and that's all coming.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, even with Vandenberg, I know there's for every one person that saw it, there's probably a lot more that kept quiet, and the same with the Langley sighting that we heard about. If one person sees it on a smoke break in the middle of the night, how many other people have seen this over the years that are either potentially very troubled by what they've seen,
Right.
um, and they need a path forward in the dark. We also had a lot of um, I think very valid accusations. Luna said she'd be prepared to subpoena Kirkpatrick, and George Knapp was suggesting people from the CIA and saying, old Lockheed Martin there could do with a microphone in front of them at some point. So, do you see a path to any of those questions being answered?
I do for sure, but I think those come much later. We've got a lot of work to do. Because right now, like if in a month we had a hearing with Lockheed and all these other corporations, they're just going to say, no, I don't know what you're talking about. And that they could be telling the truth or they could be lying. And they could be lying to Congress legally because Congress is not authorized to know what is classified. And these people might have signed NDAs that require them to lie if
Yeah,
asked about these programs. This is the problem we have, right?
yeah,
Like you are compelled by law to lie about these secret programs, even to Congress, if they are not cleared. So
yeah.
there's a lot of work that needs to be done before we can even start to get to that level because it will just be a waste of time. It'll be like, we don't have any Tic Tacs.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. That was something that
Yeah,
Dylan
right.
kind of painted without actually outlining it. He managed to describe his way around the process of a waived special access program. So you are not even allowed to acknowledge that they exist, let alone say, "No, I'm not on that," because that gives away intelligence that it exists itself. And he
Yeah.
masterfully got around putting himself in a hell of a lot of hot water because the pressure was on him. Now, all of you, of course, because you've all worked in classified environments, but him in particular to be dancing around the questions he was asked, which were very specifically like, is BAE Systems back engineering and working on a wave special access program? And he's like, well, I couldn't even tell you, even if I knew, and you probably wouldn't be authorized to hear it. So there's
Right. And
so many weeds in the way for
I
people that,
I know, and that's another thing. I'm glad you brought that up. I hope people understand the gravity of what Dylan was articulating. He mentioned Tulsi Gabbard on purpose because she runs the intelligence community now. She provides oversight for the entire intelligence community. And she's the one that Luna and Burleson and them need to go to with those questions. Like, what do we need to do to even be allowed to find out about these programs? So, but I have a lot of confidence that this hearing had an impact behind the scenes, and I'm hearing good things, you
mm,
know. So yeah, we've got a lot of work to do.
yeah, man. So
Yeah.
just for the sake of clarity, then, let's say Tulsi Gabbard because she's mentioned UAP very offhand in a very almost teasing way.
Yeah.
Oh, my husband's dead interested in this. But like, would she have total oversight as head of the intelligence community? Or we've heard that even the president themselves doesn't necessarily have a need to know. So who should we be looking at?
It should be her and the executive branch. It should be Congress. And this is the thing, like the system, either by design or just a function of government growing and bureaucracy, Congress has lost the reins to the wagon, to the horses, right? They pass the laws, they control the purse. And we find ourselves in a situation where the intelligence community and the military are telling Congress, we're spending your money. We're not telling you what we're spending it on. We're doing whatever we want, and you are not authorized to know. And so the power should rest with Congress. And I understand you have the Gang of Eight that they're, read in allegedly on everything. But that's a problem because 8 people, I don't know how many special access programs exist, but I imagine it's innumerable. It's a huge number. And each one is a very particular and complicated operation, right? So there's no way 8 people can keep track of what the military industrial complex is doing, right? So there's a lack of oversight. And it needs to come back to the Congress. The Congress members, senior members of the Congress, or people on specific committees should have access to what the military is doing with our money. What are they developing? What are they doing? We have no idea. And
Yeah,
that could be exactly what the New Jersey drones were. They're sixth generation tech that the deep state decided to test on Passaic County, New Jersey. And they're telling Congress, yeah, we're going to do that. And we don't have to tell you about it. We don't have to tell you what they are, how much they cost, what they're doing, what the research is. So we have lost control of our own government.
that's something
So,
that Congresswoman Mace brought up specifically. She
yeah.
said like she signs the bill for all these special access programs and for Arrow and stuff like that, decides what funding they has, but she's in a skiff just reading code words and can't have an explanation on what these things are. So it's essentially being gaslit
Yeah.
just out of an infinite amount of funding. And then we've had legends of the past like Mark McCandlish that talked about these things just being hidden in a really innocent sounding thing. So you could say we're going for an ecological thing to move away from fossil fuels, and it's hydromagnetics, and then nestled within that is an anti-gravity program, for example. I'm not saying that that's an
Right,
actual
right.
thing, but these things can be buried under bureaucracy, and then all that congressperson sees that's paying the bill is some fancy code word.
And they could also be hidden in plain sight because that's how our government budget works. You have this massive spending bill, and then they just tack on things that are completely unrelated. So you have a defense package bill for national defense, and they'll fund, a bridge to nowhere in Connecticut. It's got nothing to do with that, right? So that's a problem in government as a whole.
Yeah, and for anybody that thinks that that's far-fetched, like the US Air Force when they commissioned the Blackbird, they sort of went, well, we just built this A-12 ox cart for the CIA that you've been flying for the last 5 years, and there's this totally secret cutting
Yeah,
edge spaceship sat there essentially. So it's
yeah.
this vast amount of money was going on back then. So God only knows what's happening now.
So when we're talking about these legacy programs, we're nowhere near there yet.
Hmm.
Like Congress has a lot of work to do just on the surface to control the budget and spending and who we're giving money to, let
Yeah,
alone bad actors that are deep in the shadows, right? So, we've got a lot of work to do.
yeah. And a lot of it's generational. I mean, a lot of for example, the Atomic Energy Act, the guys that set that up aren't here anymore. You
right.
know, the stuff that happened at that time when a lot of this secrecy acts and everything was first instigated, they're not even on the scene. So these people are coming into a job inheriting bureaucracy and methods of
Mhm.
working, and this stuff's just sat there quietly carrying on in the deep waters of international politics.
Yeah.
So, as a viewer, as an enthusiast of this, what would you like to say to folks that have been at home and watched this thing and don't really know where to turn next?
There's a lot, right? I would say have hope, be courageous, get involved. Now is the time. Um, Good things are coming, and we need your support. And that's your support can be, and people always ask, like, what can I do? And I was in that boat for many years, just like everybody else, watching this play out on TV. So give your support. Your attention is a commodity. You know, your attention has meaning and value. So just by paying attention to this topic and supporting the people that you support has a lot of value, and that's a good thing. So support the community. Think about getting involved politically at a local level. This is one of the issues. You know, if we have, let's say, 50,000 people on UFO Twitter that want to vote for disclosure or vote for a congressman to get them in, that doesn't work. What we need are local grassroots effort, and it's got to be non-political. And this is a major undertaking that the community can start to undertake. It's complicated, but it will take a lot of work, but we need to do that. So what needs to happen is build out a local community in your area in a congressional district and start calling and asking, where do you stand on UFOs, UAP? And it has to be non-political because, you know, you have to take the politics out of it. Otherwise, we can't deal with the politicians because I don't agree with any of them on everything, right? So I have to work with pro-gun people and anti-gun people and everything in between. So for me, I've taken the politics out of it, and it comes down to one issue for me. Like, where do you stand on truth and transparency for UFOs? And if they're for it, then I support them, as much as I can. And those are the people we need, to invite into this movement and get on the stage and give them a platform to help fight for us. So support congressmen and senators who support we the people on this topic and get politically active and gather people and in your local community and start letting your representatives know, like, hey, right now there's 12 of us, but we all care and we saw the hearing and we feel for these people, and start your own movement. And maybe in a year, by next September, it'll be start with two of you, and maybe you'll have 100 people on your team, and you'll have 100 new friends and 100 new voices. So add your voice. That would be my recommendation. If somebody wants a mission, a project, there's a big one for you.
That's awesome. I had actually one of the viewers on my channel drafted up a letter to your local politician or congressperson, and all you had to do was kind of add your name and tweak any bits that you wanted to be done, and it was all there laid out for you. So I'll include a link to that
That's
in
great.
the comments of this video, and then people can get on it. And
That's great.
it was really refreshing to see that it was every party involved and there was no political mudslinging. Like, this is a truly apolitical issue. And
Yeah.
with things as they are, I think now is a great time to celebrate a bit of unity and things that we can agree on, regardless of the color of your political party.
Yeah, and the gravity, again, the gravity of that situation, that this is the one bipartisan issue, because people should understand, like, there's multiple hearings in a day, and some of those people were in another hearing screaming at each other, probably. But when they walk into the hearing about the UFOs, all that goes away. And I believe that's because they know how serious it is behind the scenes and how real it is. They know we're not lying. They know someone is lying and it's not, and they're being lied to.
Mhm.
And they all know that. And that's why it's bipartisan. And that is a beautiful thing. We need that one thing. We need one thing we can all agree on, and let it be UFOs, man.
Absolutely, man. That's almost like the Reagan speech where he's like, "Do you think
Yeah.
we'd be so divided if there was an external force, you know?" And well, this is what you've got, folks.
Yeah.
It's just that it's
Right.
it's not it's not an alien entity. It's a little bit of corruption here and a lot of secrecy there. So
Yeah.
cool. So what's your plan next, man? Are you gonna feet up and chill or what? What have you got coming up?
Lots. Got lots. You and I are gonna start doing a lot of interviews. We're gonna bring on some of the witnesses from the Vandenberg events, so the people can hear from them directly. They don't have to listen to me yammering away anymore about other people's stories. So we're setting that up now. So I'll be very excited to introduce people to my friends, and more of that. More witnesses are coming. More information is coming. And good things are coming.
Amazing. Well, hey, yammering about other people's stories is what I do every day, man. So I'm not gonna I'm not gonna criticize that. Awesome, dude. Well, I think that will do it. But thanks everybody, and we'll see you soon.